growing international footprint, right? With the programs spanning Dubai, Cyprus, South Africa, Morocco, and the UK, Charlie is passionate about building global opportunities through innovation and shared success. At the core of his work is the belief that in collaboration, bringing together entrepreneurs, partners, and the entire ecosystem, you create a scalable and sustainable business. By fostering connections and empowering talent across borders, Charlie is helping shape the future of e commerce, where collaboration isn't just a value, but a driving force behind meaningful growth and long term impact. With that, let me welcome Charlie on stage. Let the slide go, and the stage can now be taken over by Charlie. Charlie, you can unmute and come on video too.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, and it is a great honor to be included in the first day keynotes at the PitchXPO event. This event shows what can be achieved when things change, when you have to pivot, when you have to regroup, and when you have to drive forward with the passion that the team at PitchMatter and PitchXPO have done, and I am thrilled to be a part of it today. So thank you so much. So I am Charlie O'Connor. I am the founder and the chairman of Synext. Synext is an incubator for e-commerce and app commerce. And at the core of our work is the belief in collaboration, bringing together those entrepreneurs, partners, and ecosystems to create scalable, sustainable businesses with the belief that everyone has the ability to become an entrepreneur. So to start with, I'd like to start with a simple question, and that is, how many times have you had an idea for a business and immediately thought, I wouldn't even know where to start? Well, that moment, that hesitation, that quiet doubt, that's where most ideas end. Because for a long time, building a business felt like something reserved for other people. People with technical skills, people with funding, people with the experience, people with the right background. But something has changed. Not loudly, not all at once, but fundamentally. We often talk about disruption as if it's a loud temporary storm. But the real shifts happening in our world are more like Earth's tectonic plates. They're silent, deep, and permanent. We see divisible changes. We see AI, remote work, cloud, crypto, and digital platforms all changing our working environment. But beneath those, something more profound is happening. We are moving away from a world where success was built purely on isolation into a world where success is built through connections. And with that shift comes a new reality. The challenges we are trying to solve today, whether that's supply chains, global trade, customer acquisition, or scaling across borders, are now far too complex for any single business to solve alone. This is what I call the complexity gap. And in this new world, success is no longer defined by what you build alone. It is defined by how well you connect, how effectively you plug into the ecosystem around you. And yet, despite all of this progress, we are still holding on to old beliefs that to build a successful business, an e-commerce business, you need to be technical. That belief has acted as a gatekeeper. It has held people back with great products, great ideas, and real ambition, simply because they couldn't code. So let me challenge that directly. Your technical ability is no longer the ceiling for your business. Your openness to changes. Because the most successful founders today are not the ones who can build everything themselves. They are the ones who are open enough to learn, humble enough to ask for help, and ambitious enough to connect with the right people. They don't see technology as a barrier. They see it as infrastructure. After the COVID lockdown, I spent a lot of time working closely with entrepreneurs, people with ideas, energy, a real desire to build something. And what I saw was surprising. There was no shortage of support. In Ireland, we have many programs that support entrepreneurs. They had mentoring, they had funding initiatives, but the people were still stuck. Maybe it wasn't enough. People were still unsure. still not building businesses. And I realized something that changed everything for me. We don't have an opportunity problem, we have an execution problem. So I asked a different question. What if the problem isn't the person? The problem is the path. That's the question that became Synext. We didn't set out to build just another program. We set out to build a system, a structured, repeatable way for people without technical backgrounds necessarily to go through idea to income to scale. And what we learned in this is people don't need more information, they need clarity. They need structured education that leads to action, not overwhelm. They need mentorship that is relevant and timely, not generic. They need partnerships that accelerate progress instead of slowing it down. And most importantly, they need a roadmap, a clear, guided journey that shows them what they can do. Because beyond the obvious challenges, there's also the silent ones, the ones that don't get talked about enough: logistics, legality, and of course, capital. Scaling globally today isn't just about shipping a product. It's about navigating complexities, customs, classifications, regulations. What I often describe as the customs earthquake. We're going through it right now, where one small misstep can create friction, cost, and further delay. And then there's the capital, not just raising it, but understanding what it takes to operate, grow, and sustain a business as it scales. And here's the shift. You don't need to master all this yourself. You just need to be open enough to work with people who already do. So if I tell you a little story about one of the businesses, one of the companies that came through our program is called Just Zero Proof. They're a non-alcoholic drinks brand. They didn't start with the technical team. They didn't start with a fully built system. They started with a vision. And they asked, can I do this? At the beginning, it looked like it does for most people. They were uncertain, maybe a little bit confused, a lack of clarity on where to begin, where to start. What platform do you choose? And where do you get your first customers? And this is where the people stopped. But they didn't. They stepped into the process. They followed the roadmap. They used constructive education to understand how to acquire customers. They leaned on their mentors, the real experience to guide them through their key decisions. And then they built partnerships that helped them navigate logistics and distribution. They launched locally. They tested their market. They learned, they adapted. And then something changed quietly but powerfully. They went from, I'm not sure this will work, to, oh my God, I'm running a business. And from there, everything changed because they don't just start to build a shop. They're starting to build a brand. Today, they're on the path to scale beyond their local markets into national and international growth. They have made mistakes, of course, but that comes with learning. Not because they have become technical experts, but because they followed the structured ecosystem-driven approach. At Synext, the journey is built in a 12-month roadmap. In the early stages, founders focus on launching locally and building a solid foundation through structured education. As they progress, the focus shifts beyond growth, building partnerships, links that unlock access to finance and global trade. In the final phase, the emphasis is on expansion, connecting into global markets, accessing capital, and reaching new customers. But the 12-month roadmap is not the end of the journey. In some ways, it's only the beginning, because once a business has moved from idea to launch to traction, the question starts and changes. How do I scale it? The scale is a very different challenge, because when you get to your first customers, it's how do you make those customers sustainable? At this stage, success is no longer just about effort. It's about alignment with the right partners, the right distribution, the right capital, and the right strategic decisions. And this is where many businesses would stall, not because of their lack of potential, but because they try to scale alone. So for us, the next phase is scale. This is where we shift from building the business to accelerating it. We work with founders to strengthen growth strategies, connect them with partners who unlock new markets, and introduce them to funding that aligns where they are. Because at this level, partnerships are no longer optional. They are essential. And when that happens, something shifts again. The business moves from reacting to opportunity. And that is the difference between a startup and a scalable company. Now, as we began to grow this model, something interesting happened. It didn't stay local. We began to expand internationally, and one of the defining moments was our journey was the launch of our incubator in Dubai. Dubai is a very different environment to Ireland, different pace, different ambition, different scale. But what stood out for me was the difference in it was the consistency. The same challenge existed. Founders with ideas, but maybe not a clear path to execution. And the same solution worked. Structure, mentorship, partnerships, roadmap. But the real shift came when we plugged the ecosystem, access to capital, global trade routes, international networks, all at your fingertips. When you combine a proven model with the right ecosystem, you don't just grow, you accelerate. And that journey didn't stop there, because as we continue to expand, another opportunity emerged: South Africa. Now, this was different again, different demographics, different starting points, and different levels of access, but the ambition, the ideas, and the drive were the same. This is where the model had to evolve, not in its principles, but how it was delivered. In South Africa, there is 60% unemployment in the 18 to 25-year-olds, but everybody has a mobile phone. So how could you develop a program that could then be adapted to fit those young people on their mobile phones? So that's what we did. We built a system in the cloud. Our incubator platform is now completely built in the cloud for people to be able to access our academy and build their businesses with the help of online mentors and with guidance and support. And we did remove the biggest barrier. Where did they start? They start today. People begin to build, not because everything is perfect and not because the path is visible. That's when you realize that it isn't just about scaling, it's about unlocking the potential in the markets, in the people themselves. And that is why what's being built here at PitchXPO matters so much. Because what you are creating is not just access to investment, it's an access to a trusted global ecosystem. And that ecosystem is what Synext is built on. It's a bridge: founders, capital, networking, and opportunities, building between local ambition and global scale. So I'll leave you with this. Somewhere right now, there's someone with an idea, a good one, maybe even a great one. But they're stuck in a moment. They're hesitant and they're questioning themselves. Can I actually do this? And the answer is yes, you can. Not because you have all the skills, but because the path now exists. So here's the message I want you to carry with you today. The scale of your impact will not be determined by what you build alone, but by the strength of the ecosystem you build around you. Don't wait for the technical skills to catch up with your vision. Focus on what you do best. Stay open, stay connected. Use the ecosystems at your fingertips. Because when that happens, when somebody moves from thinking to building, we don't just create businesses, we change who gets to build the future. And that's the most important part of all. So thank you for your time today. Thank you to the entire team. It has been my honor to be part of this keynote today. It was my pleasure sharing our story with you. Thanks.
Thank you.